What's up, guys? Rico here. So why is the stock market selling off? Actually, why is the market even went down today? Well, here's my answer. Last week, remember, I said the stock market was already showing signs of selling off. I actually made a video and I explained to you why I was thinking that the market was going to pull back. It had to pull back because we were at all-time high, and I show you where it would have been the support level first, and I show you that when we get to that level, then we can analyze the market and look at what the market is telling us, because the data has to be pulled from what the market says. And when we look at that, we can be able to see if we are going to keep going down or if we're going to reverse back. And I believe in that same video, I was showing you the S&P 500, which pretty much represent the 500 best, I would say, performing company in the US, and they pretty much represent the overall health of the stock market, or should I say the US stock market. I show specifically the signs that I was looking at, that the market was telling me, or telling us in general, what it was about to do. And now we've dipped, which we started seeing it. Did the overall market went down? Mostly the tech sector was the one that got hit the most, which makes a lot of sense. Why? Because the tech sector has been riling off without pretty much stopping. It's been gaining more and more momentum. It only makes sense that the tech sector got hit first. But do I think that the rest of the sector could potentially be following in the same path? Well, this is usually what happens. There has to be an action before there is a reaction, and every action usually starts a domino effect. So when we see that into the tech sector, we look how they have been performing. When you look at the best stocks like Apple, when you look at Google, when you look at NEO, even you look at Tesla, you look at, they are really at a very low, very discounted price, because it seems like they are correcting themselves. So a lot of the tech companies and tech stocks have already sold off way too much than the rest of the sector. We've seen the finance sector, like the banking sector and the travel sector, they have kind of rebounded back. Why? Because here's the mentality usually that happens in the stock market. One sector that everybody knows that's been gaining more momentum for quite a while and start selling off, what usually people do is they run away from that because of fear, and they go to the other sector that have been underperforming. Like we know, the travel sector has been underperforming because of the illness, and not only the travel sector, but also the finance sector, like banking, they also have been pretty much underperforming. A lot of them have not even recovered to the highest level they were last year. So people run away from here to go put their money there. But does that mean that actually has to bring a certain balance? Not necessarily, because when you look at the entire overall market, it's already been at all-time high. The market can only go as high as it can, but from time to time it has to pull back. So when we look at the stock market pullback, do I think that this is a stock market correction? Remember last week, the whole time high on the S&P 500 ETF, which was the SPY, was about 394. And I said a stock market correction is about 10% of the overall market, which means a 10% pullback would have been exactly $39.40. That is a 10%. So you have to take $39.40 minus 394, which, let's just round it to $40, would be somewhere around 354. But when you look at the SPY right now, it's not exactly at that point. It's still higher. So it's not a 10% pullback. It's halfway, which that specifically means we're not into correction territory yet, but we are due for a correction. Is it going to be this week, continuing this momentum, or is it going to be coming up in a few days or next month? I can only look at what the stock and the chart are telling me in order for me to tell you where the opportunities are. So right now, I can tell you into the tech sector, there are already bigger deals that we can start getting. But into the overall market, when I look at the S&P 500, there are some deals, but not all of them? Not yet. And now I have to look at the chart, see where we've pulled back, because so far it looks like we went down about 5%, somewhere around. And then what the market is telling me right now would be able to determine if we're going to keep going down into the correction territory, or if the stock market is not going to do a correction but going back up. But does that mean we have to miss out on this stock market correction and be able to grab some really good deal and make some serious money? No, we don't have to miss out. Whether you trade stocks themselves or if you are trading options, again, I got some strategies, and if you keep watching this video, I promise you, you will be able to see some really good ways you can do or position yourself and make some pretty good money when you're going to be able to grab really good companies at very discounted price. Anyways, before I move on with this video, please smash that like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you get videos just like this one every single time we post them. So with no further ado, let's jump into the charts and talk technical analysis so you can understand what I'm talking about and what kind of deals you can take right now to take advantage of this stock market correction that we're about to go through. All right, so here I've got the S&P 500 ETF pulled up for you guys so you see what I'm talking about. Real quick, last week when I was talking about, we were somewhere right here, and I was telling you that the stock was showing signs of pulling back, which it did. If you look right here, I have two lines. The first one is exactly right here. So these two lines just represent where I see the support level as it was going down to my support level from the last video. I told you guys, I was saying when the market pull back, I want to see it pull back all the way to the 50 moving average, which is this blue line. And when it get to the 50 moving average, then I would be able, that would be about a 5% drops. And then when whatever we're going to see, whatever the market is going to be telling us at this level is what is going to determine if we're still going to go into the stock market correction, which is a 10%, and the 10% from the highest level should be around 354. But right now we close at about 387. So we're not there just yet. But just by looking at this, when you look at it, it really, because you got to look at the tail here. And when you look at this tail, we actually went down all the way, to the 50 moving average. And then we bounced back because also this was the support level, first one. And then we closed at pretty much, we went back, and then we see what the previous support level, we went even back and then all the way to the top right here. That's where we closed at. But do I actually think that the market is reversing? Because when you look at this candle, it looks like a hammer candle, and it looks like probably the market is reversing. But here's the thing. You see, when we were right here, when it looked like we sold off a little bit, you could tell that the market here on my stochastic down here was showing bearish signs. And you can tell even the arrow. But we reversed somewhere right. It looked like we reversed for a few days, because again, each candles here are representing a day. It looked like we reversed for only a few days. It looks like it was only 5 days. But because we were still bearish down here on my stochastic, look what we did. And anyone would have believed, oh yeah, we just reversed back, we're good. I bought the dip. But guess what happened? We actually went even lower than we were here. And that's when you saw my stochastic turn around and start showing bullish signs. But does that mean it was a long-term bullish signs? Not necessarily, because even though we sold off right here, we still didn't get into the stock market correction, the stock market correction territory, which is a 10%. So this was not a 10% drop. It was just a healthy pullback. And then we pick back up. Does that mean we're done? No, we're done. As long as we haven't been in a stock market correction yet, we are not done, because now you don't know specifically when this is going to happen, but you can see the sign that's telling you we are pretty much close to get into that territory. And guess what we just did here? Again, look, this is another pattern that's repeating itself. Look right here. And then look right here. You see what I'm talking about? Right here, we pulled back. It was still showing that it was bearish, even though the market kind of pulled back the next day, and then the next day went even higher. But guess what happened after? And that's what we're seeing again right here. Another one. We looked like we went back down here, and then it shows like this candle is green as if the market is pulling back up. But in reality, when you look down here, it's still showing, the stochastics are showing bearish signs. So do I think that we're turning back on? I don't think yet. Even if the next candle tomorrow goes open even higher, I believe even if we still run a little bit higher, or even just we're sideways for a few days, I still think that we're going to drop at least a little bit more before we actually turn back up. But do I know how much we're going to be dropping at? I don't know that specifically. But all I can say is, because this is the level at which we have been bouncing back, we might be able to go slightly lower than where we were. Just like you can tell right here, we came back and then bounced back up. But what we did after that is we went much lower before we went up. So if we see this same pattern repeating itself, though we could be able to say that, or at least put ourselves in a position of saying we could see this same pattern repeating itself, and we might even go lower. And again, know this, there is a possibility that the next candle that's gonna open might open a little higher, and it might make you think that everybody bought the dip, I bought the dip and all that, but is it really the dip? As long as we're still showing some signs of a short-term bearish, as I'm seeing here, it's not the really deep dip yet. And a stock market correction, we are due for one, because we cannot keep staying at all-time high forever. Just like when you throw a tennis ball into the air, he will never go all the way and just keep going without pulling back. At some point, kinetic energy is going to have to be transformed into potential energy, and we're going to have to come back. Sorry for the physics. And then you have to deal with gravity that's going to pull you back down, which in this case is a correction. And then at some point, that tennis ball will reach a certain level where it will bounce back. That's pretty much what I'm trying to talk about here. I'm sure you get the picture. So what are the best deals? If I'm coming here, this is the S&P 500, by the way, I was showing you. But if I were to show you the NASDAQ, as of right now, this is what we're looking at. You see, the NASDAQ really went down. Like, we went from the top of the my Bollinger Band all the way to the bottom of it. And then we kind of picked up, and guess where we found support? Again, at the 50 moving average. That's where we found support. Do I think that the NASDAQ so far has sold off enough that he could potentially start to turn back? There is a possibility, because if you look at Tesla stock, particularly, it's already sold off more than 10%, which I would personally say the Tesla stock itself is already into a correction territory. If I look at Apple stock, from the highest where it was, I believe it was somewhere around 145, and it traded all the way below to 120 today, we went over a 10% drop, which means it's already into a correction territory. So here's one thing that I wanted to tell you. Tech stocks are already into correction territory, even though the overall market is not yet into the correction territory, or should I say the overall different sector from finance and travel and every other thing, healthcare, is not yet into the correction territory, but tech is already in correction territory, because you can tell from individual stock, they have dropped more than 10%. So if you're trading stocks, this is what a person should do. You don't buy the dip with all your money that you got, because no one can ever predict the lowest level of the real dip. What you can do is you can follow the curve. As we are getting lower and lower, if you have, let's say you have $1,000, you buy 300 bucks on the first thing when you think it's a dip. And then if it dips a little bit more, you buy another 300 bucks. And then if it start curving back up, you add up another 300 bucks, because at the end of the day, the stock market always go up. It temporarily calms down, pull back, goes into correction territory, goes into bear market, and very rarely completely collapse, but he always picks back up and go. So if you invest and buy as you go, you're always going to end up the winner, because the goal here is to always try to get the best deal possible. And when you get the best deal possible is to try to average down as much as you can. You don't use all your money all at once. You do it progressively. So that's what I wanted to say, but just keep your eyes on the other sector as healthcare and finance sector and travel sector, because like I said, a domino effect. Tech stock can be able to pull the rest of it. Thank you guys for watching videos. I really appreciate you watching this video all the way to the end. If you did, please leave us a comment below. Tell us what you think and which stocks you're actually looking into, or even if you have a question about what you would like to know about a specific stock that you maybe like or you wanted to invest into and you want to know what our opinion is. Please leave us a comment below. And just like always, I myself will see you in the next video, which is going to be next Wednesday. Thanks guys. Bye-bye.